it's still a complete and total theory, a farce actually. It's basically a ruse played on you, and I'll tell you why. It's to train you that you have a faulty body, that your sickness is your fault. The industry doesn't want you knowing these truths. The industry doesn't want you knowing any of that. The industry wants to keep you sick. That's how the money machine works. You've heard of that, right? There's a big part of Big Pharma that's really dark that people are unaware of. That dark part of Big Pharma is 80, 90 years ago. They raised these viruses in labs using eggs as the virus's food. That's how it's done. But in the end, you will get symptoms. Everybody does. No one's gonna escape that unless they really know what to do for themselves. The medical industry is involved with why eggs are bad, not because they're out there talking about eggs being bad, but what happened is they were using eggs back years and years ago to raise bugs. So bugs are why we're sick. In order for pathogens to stay alive, they need food, and everybody has pathogens in their body. Everybody has pathogens in their system. That's how it works. So you can get your best medical information out there, alternative medicine, or your best healer, or your best advisor in medical health, and they won't tell you which bugs or bugs that are responsible for this, responsible for all your illnesses, and how eggs feed these bugs. So this is critical information. It's really important. If you've been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition of any kind and your doctor finally said, hey, it's autoimmune, or you went online and looked and it's autoimmune, whatever that is, what that means, without anybody telling you, is that you have a condition where you have a pathogen inside the body causing problems, creating neurotoxins, creating dermatoxins. Like if it's eczema or psoriasis, that's a pathogen creating a toxin that floats to the skin. This is advanced information. Now, if you eat eggs, if you're eating them or you ate them in the past, you're feeding that pathogen, you're feeding that virus, and that's what's keeping you sick, and that's what's going to keep you sick. Look, the industries use this in labs as a food source for all the bugs that are keeping everybody down, disempowering women and men, actually hurting people, keeping them sick, hurting children, keeping them sick. That's what they did. They did that without your permission. No town hall meeting, no vote, no anything. This was done without your decisions involved. So eggs were actually ruined because of this, okay? And before all of this, yeah, eggs were probably a fine food to eat. Why not? In the 1950s, they didn't know why all these people were sick. They were pouring in and pouring in symptoms they'd never seen before. I'd even talked to old doctors back in the day when they were already 90 years old after practicing way back then. And I've talked to them, and they've told me how it all worked and what was happening. And the autoimmune theory was just a way to confuse people, to protect science and research. Because see, science and research has to protect itself, and it uses you and womankind to do so. Not in all fields. I'm talking about chronic illness, so just know this, not in all fields. Think about technology back in the 1950s, late 1940s, right? Think about technology, think about the phones, go watch an old movie. I know I say this a lot, watch an old movie and look at technology back in 1950, all right? You'll be in shock because we're so used to tech now, we're so used to life now, we're so used to what's happening now, okay? When you realize technology was where it was at, then you have to realize medicine was where technology was at back then too. It was in the dark ages, okay? That was the dark ages of medicine. That was where theories were born. Just like now, theories are here now. We're still, in the dark ages in many ways because, hey, they still don't even know what causes chronic illness and autoimmune. But think about as far as back in the late 1940s, early 1950s. Well, that's when the autoimmune theory was birthed. That's when it was born, Okay, so if you're someone who's young right now, if you're someone that's already been to a couple doctors, you got a little bit of eczema and you're realizing it's autoimmune, or you got some swelling on the body, or you got something you're getting a diagnosis of lupus, or you just got symptoms that are actually being classified as autoimmune, or you're dealing with a little fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, or whatever it is, that's all in the autoimmune family, or Lyme disease now pushed in autoimmune. I'm going to go into that in more detail. Whatever you're dealing with, okay? Autoimmune is a theory still. The word is a theory. The concept is a theory. Your sickness is real. Your symptoms are real. They are very real. Way more real than the industry lets you feel or know, because that's how it is. By saying it's autoimmune, they're saying your body's attacking itself. They're saying your body's destroying itself. So that's what they're doing. So think about that for a minute. Here you are, you go to a doctor. It's not the doctor's fault. Doctors work for the industry. Doctors are amazing. It's not about the doctor, but you go to the doctor, and the doctor's gonna be like, yeah, you have an autoimmune condition. That's what you have. So now you're making your protein shakes, now you're making your smoothies, now you're having your hard-boiled eggs on salads, now you're doing all this because you're trying to eat healthy. You go to a good functional medicine doctor and they're like, get off of gluten, get off of this, get off of that. But they still think you have an autoimmune condition. They're still following that 1950s theory where your body's attacking itself. See, autoimmune means your body's immune system is attacking the glands and organs. That's what it means. That's a theory that occurred back in the technology of that, old school of the 1940s and the 1950s. That was a theory that came up because science and research had to protect itself, because millions of patients were coming in with new symptoms for the first time in history. So please know that. And there's no science proving autoimmune yet, the autoimmune theory. There's no science or research that can actually prove the autoimmune theory. Okay, that's how it works. You can look all you want, they'll still say your body's attacking itself, and they'll talk about an autoantibody, but they could never find that autoantibody causing harm. It's not possible. It's still a complete and total theory, a farce actually. It's basically a ruse played on you, and I'll tell you why. It's to train you that you have a faulty body, that your sickness is your fault. It's not a pathogen, it's not the Epstein-Barr virus, it's not this, it's not that. The industry doesn't want you knowing these truths. The industry doesn't want you knowing any of that. The industry wants to keep you sick. That's how the money machine works. You've heard of that, right? The bugs that create all these illnesses were raised in labs and somehow escaped those labs 80, 90, 60 years ago. And these bugs were raised on eggs. If you don't have a chronic symptom, you don't have a chronic illness, you feel great, nothing's going on at any level, eat the eggs. And then if something comes up down the road, get rid of the eggs then.
Okay.